Animals like drinking! We're drinking. Cheers. One more. Hear that song? Pretty good for the oil. Three whole new variation. Fit your lifestyle.
The Jeff Dwoskin Show presents Crossing the Streams with host Jeff Dwoskin, Bob Phillips, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Sal D'Amelio, and Zach Wiseman, and today's special guest. Thank you for joining us as we talk about what we are streaming. Right here on Crossing the Streams.
Another conversation with Jason and Justin. Today we are joined by Soho Johnny. Johnny, how you doing today?
Oh, how's everybody doing? And thank you for having me on the show today, gentlemen.
Absolutely. I want to ask, so tell us about yourself.
I'm just some kid from the Bronx that had a vision and a lot of, I guess, the seed of entertainment. And I was a practical joker when I was in grammar school, and I always had that seed of entertainment, and I just couldn't keep it down all my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So can I kind of explain how you got into what are you doing now? What's kind of been COVID like for you? I mean, just perusing your website, promoter kind of a thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
I think I'll just kind of start from the beginning because
Please.
It's kind of my genesis. And I was brought up in New York City. My parents lived in a complex called Stuyvesant Town, 14th Street in Manhattan, and was in New York. And it was a giant complex that Metropolitan Life built, an apartment. And I went to grammar school across the street, a parochial school. And eventually they moved to the sister complex, Parkchester, in the Boogie Down Bronx. But in grammar school, I was this practical joker, and I was a nervous, stuttering kid. And what I used to do is I would take in all these different all these different items and practical jokes and get in trouble. And I think that's part of you kind of, when you look back on your life, you look back and you rediscover the person you were when you're younger.
Sure.
And, you kind of identify, say, that's what was going on in my makeup back then.
Right.
So fast forward from that, eventually my parents had moved to the Bronx, and I moved to the sister complex, and eventually they had a house. They bought a house in the Boogie Down Bronx. And I was so fortunate, by the way, of being brought up in the city in the Boogie Down Bronx, because I think, that's in a second education of itself, where you have all this diverse cultures coming together, working together.
Sure.
They had a garage in the backyard. I was still in grammar school, and because I had this notoriety around the neighborhood and school and everything, I kind of had a following. Probably a little nefarious following, but I had a following. And I used to play music, rock music, which is now classic rock, in that garage. And I had a strobe light, black light. And the word kind of gotten around. And, the Boogie Down Bronx back then was like, it wasn't so much what it is today. I mean, there was gangs on the street and everything, and all the families and their kids that kind of were happy that they were there rather than really on the street. So I think that's kind of the seed of entertainment. Fast forward from that, I started doing some DJing and some shows and get-togethers, but mostly I would just have a party and my parents moved out of the house for a while. I lived there by myself, so that was kind of like a 24-hour crash pad for all my friends.
But that was awesome.
It was, but I usually, when I get asked a question, just to take a pause here, I think my sense of entertainment came from my mom, and playing. I was in this. We're talking in the '60s now, and we all probably remember that first song. I mean, if those of us that were utilizing vinyl, though vinyl tech has a big comeback now in the industry. But you would play that song over and over as a kid and drive your family crazy over and over. Well, that was me. And that definitely came from my mom, because she was getting into entertainment. She couldn't go that far for many different limitations, especially in those days. And the seed of humility from my dad, because I was very fortunate that, he was a poor man, and, he built up a business, and everybody kind of said nice things about him after he dealt with them. 3 generations in my family, going back to Soho, which is an historic area in New York City, where my grandfather came here humbly to try to make a living, and then it turned into a trucking company in my father's generation, and handed down, to my generation, my younger brother and myself. We eventually got out of that, but I was just a kid behind the desk, and even though I do real estate through PepRealEstate.com, and I help the retailers and everything, from the area, because we have locations in the area. That seed of entertainment never really died with me. I think, going forward, another quantum jump here. My dad had died 26 years ago from cancer. And I know cancer affected so many people. And here I am, I'm doing these events, and I'm kind of like percolating. And I said to myself, let me just take it a notch up, and try to do something in my dad's memory and everyone's memory, because cancer affects all of us in some manner, shape, or form. I started raising money and doing fundraisers, and I, got more, high echelon artists to come support me, and I raised money for the American Cancer Society.
That's wonderful.
And since I did that, I think that was my, that was kind of my aha moment, in doing those types of things. And I just kind of went forward, and I attracted so many people, lovely people around me to help support what I was doing. And, of course, I had my family business, but then I was always drawn to the entertainment business. We all are. Most of us all love music. I call it, music is the tie that binds us all, right? It keeps us together. There's no politics. There's no nothing in it. So that kind of gave me my quantum jump there when I started my company, SohoJohnny.com, of course, is my platform, and it's on social media everywhere. And I started producing shows, and I always had some philanthropy, some charity concept in there. And it just opened up so many different doors, and so much love and support. And listen, it's not really about me. But this is my journey. And I consider myself blessed that I'm able to do something that I love, and not to get away. Listen, there's the business part of it, and it's hard work. For many of you, of us all know, putting a show on. For me, I'm type A personality. I kind of, I want to make sure everything goes right, and it's kind of stressful. But at the end, it's all worth it, and the love that you get, and that connection you have with the audience. I'm also a performer. I couldn't help myself, and as I was working with these artists, I'd get on stage, animated, and do a choreography with the dancing group, and and then start singing, and it's just that he also started to find its way on its own. And here I am, years later, with we have a few different labels that we started, and we're representing certain artists, some that are really great, like. I'll give a plug out for these great guys, Animazix, which is, we helped take them out of Japan, and we're great, like metal rock band. And awesome. Here they're doing, songs, based on children's themes, like, the old, like a Donald Duck, or, a Mickey Mouse, or those type of things, the children's themes. So it's really been a blessing, this whole journey thus far.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. My mother went through leukemia a few years back. We were on the fortunate side that she made it through, but that's a scary disease to go through.
Well, cancer. They're making great strides. And as a matter of fact, there's talk about this new novel. It's not really technically medically. Everyone calls it a vaccine for COVID. It's really not. It's really a pathogen. if you by legal medical definition. But there's some intricacies about that have some hopeful signs to really take major strides in cancer too. But
That's awesome.
Jury's still out on that, and let's hope.
For sure.
But
So, what kind of music did you play when you were a DJ?
Well, we're going back when I was DJing, it was probably the 80s. And then after, rock, and then the whole disco era came out. And so, I really got into disco at the time. And I used to DJ a lot of disco. And remember, I'm in the city. I'm very, very prevalent in the city. And, I just had a good time. But, I never looked at it. I mean, in my real estate life, because I started a real estate company in the 1980s, no big deal, real estate broker in Soho. I would always end up, flirting with the entertainment industry as well. I've done deals like I would sign a lease with Grace Jones, 1985, or, one of the properties I had was a reclusive hangout, allegedly with Andy Warhol. But, how could you not be, kind of attracted to those things?
Sure.
So, but it was always like, okay, I'm just a real estate guy, or I'm just doing this for my family business type of thing. And it was always just kind of like on my shoulder, and just my profound love of music and passion, like, so much of us all have. I just let it out. I let it, after my dad died, that was the catalyst. I think in losing my dad and trying to funnel that energy, I was mourning like you're always mourning. I funneled into something positive in his name and everyone's name. And that made a big difference. And I found, I kind of rediscovered, and we're always rediscovering ourselves. I mean, I believe that you learn about yourself to the day you die. You learn different things, or what makes you tick and whatever. But so I'll fast forward again. I mean, we'll talk about a few different shows, I guess, that I've done. I think everyone would enjoy that. But I think, this last year, being that we're talking about COVID, I will mention that I lost my mom to COVID last year.
Oh, man.
93. Wow. Yes, 93 years old. Of course, I'm mourning, but I'm saying that because just like with my dad, I took that secret sauce and I said to myself, and I had already started because I was doing fundraisers like for cancer or whatever. Yeah. But I was just kind of advertising, get work with them. They'd come and support me, and then I'd just write a check at the end of the day and feel great doing it. But this time I founded a foundation about a year ago called Let Me Help Inc. LetMeHelpInc.org is the website. And when my mom died, I took it off the shelf. I said, you know what? If you do nothing, then nothing gets done. So I took it off the shelf, and I started utilizing it as a vehicle. Now, a foundation that many of the listeners may not know, and I didn't know at the time. Unlike just one charity like American Cancer Society, which is just pigeonholed just to raise money for cancer, you could pivot and raise money for different causes at the same time, or alternatively. And we just did a virtual. Of course, we had to do a virtual concert in November, right around Thanksgiving, and we raised money for 3 causes: prostate cancer, anti-bullying mandate that's tied to a lot of suicide, with their suicide rate in children and everything in schools and whatnot, and COVID. Something in I live in New York. There was Yonkers is one of the cities by here, and Department of Aging. I just bring Meals on Wheels. I think they bring food to people that are sick that can't go shopping. And it was thanks to my dream team. I mean, consider me, guys. As I say, it's not about me. I'm just, for those of us that knows, like these big tractor trailers or these Mack trucks. Mack is a big manufacturer, and that bulldog in front of the truck on the hood, right? I'm just the figurehead bulldog in front. But the thanks all goes to the people around me that help support me and bring, help me assemble all these artists. People like my mentor, John Valesco, Eileen Shapiro, Jimmy Starr, and the list goes on and on. But we put together a 6-hour virtual concert from artists from all over the world. I mean, we have, I can't remember everybody, but we either had permission to use footage, we had shout outs or performances. Everyone from the likes of Patrick Stewart, Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne,
awesome.
Cedric the Entertainer, Fred from the B-52s, and I have a long list here. Leland Scar and so many different champions here that came to support. I mean, from different genres of music, by the way. Rick Wakeman. I mean, my God, I used to play his Journey to the Center of the Earth until that vinyl was worn out with the needle. John Lodge, Moody Blues. It's just very, very beautiful what we were able to. And of course, more contemporary music. October London, of course, Animazex, Bonfire, DJ Scribble, Jasmine Cara, Leon Robinson, Linda Gambino, Charlie Black, and Sophia Angelica. I mean, I have a long list here. Kim Sledge from Sister Sledge. It was really, really wonderful. So we had a successful event, and we raised money, and it was such a blessing. Everybody just contributed their time. I mean, it was just really, really wonderful to be able to get that done. Talking about disco in 2019, but I get a brain fart sometimes because I think last year, but I'm really thinking about 2019 because 2020 slipped by us because we're all, working remotely or, social distancing. And by the way, social distancing, I always advocate, especially in these times, social distancing does not mean social isolation. It actually means the opposite. Now's the time to not congregate physically, but virtually over the phone and stay in contact and, just keeping people in a good mood out there. Okay. We know that there's a lot going on in the world right now, but it's so important that we just wake up with the feeling that every day is still a blessing and a gift. No matter what happens to us, I know what happens to me, there's still people less fortunate than me. And I think that's very, very important. That's also part of my passion in doing what I try to do here. But, the true champions or double champions are the ones such as in the Let Me Help show that we did, that besides just their own celebrity status and their talent, they would come and support and do something good, and giving back like that, in my eyes, makes them champions and celebrities twice over. So again, I'm very, very, very grateful. 2019, we did a fun festival, and I'll talk about that pre-COVID before the things exploded here. And I did an all-day festival, and it was based mostly on classic disco, naturally. And I got mostly all the original artists to come support. At that time, it was the American Cancer Society before the foundation. And I was so lucky and so privileged to work with Denny Terrio, and he's the original host of Dance Fever back in the day. Taught John Travolta how to dance, and he co-hosted it with me. And we had the original groups: Tavares, Heatwave, Fonda Ray, Sharon Brown, Double Exposure, Instant Funk, Planet Patrol, Harold Melvin's Blue Notes, Jimmy Bohorn, Leroy Gomez from Santa Esmeralda, and the list goes on. Arnell Carmichael as well, and from radio. And we also had, and I call him my Mr. Magnificent, Monty Rock III. And he was the DJ on the Saturday Night Fever movie, I should say. Yeah. And it was great. And he did that song probably kind of at the advent of disco, called Get Dancing. By Discotheques and Sex OS. My chiffon is wet, my wig is wet. And we had but we had a great time. And we just we had people come from him. That was under, the daytime was under a circus tent. So we had a lot of people there. It was great.
That sounds cool.
Summertime. And the evening was in a grand ballroom, and a great time was had by all.
That sounds amazing. Sounds like a lot of fun. So what goes into, how far out, let's say we wanted to do some type of thing, whatever that thing is, how far out would you need to start planning? 6 months? Is it a year? When do you start that conversation? You know what I mean?
Well, it depends on the nature and the size of the event. Okay. Good segue for a couple of projects that's now on the think tank here. And, there's been a lot of time to plan now, being that we're virtual, right? And that, live performances, in most of the country now, it's starting to open up. But, I think if it's, for a lot of shows, like mid-sized shows and everything, you want to, 9 months in advance is fine. 9 months to a year is the safest way that you want to do, Once you start getting to 6 months, it starts getting a little close, because you got to lock up the talent. You got to lock up the whole schedule. You got to secure the venues, and you've got to make sure everything runs smooth. When I have the artists come to support me, they're family to me. They're not just here to do a job, and they know it. And anyone that's been to my shows, just come into my green room is great, and we're here just to put smiles on people's faces, and when I'm on stage myself, it's that umbilical cord and passionate umbilical cord that you connect with the audience, and that energy, that positive energy. It is contagious. Any performer will tell you that's contagious. It's part of the energy that you derive when you're up there and what you do and how animated you get. I just go out of my mind when I'm up there, but I'm having a great time. And that's part of it. Here I am, a nervous, stuttering kid, and that's as we're talking about how you understand yourself when you understand how you are when you were younger. I was a nervous, stuttering kid. I'm not kidding. I was nervous. I was kind of shy and everything. And it's kind of funny how you turn these things inside out when you find reasons to do that. And here I am on stage, a performer, and sometimes I find it incredible myself when I think back and say, "Oh my God, here I am." But again, it's not really, it's not, again, this is not so much.
Oh, sure.
I call myself the accidental tourist in everything that I've done. It's not like I set out. It was always a flirtatious feeling with me, but it's not like I set out, let me go into entertainment.
Sure.
Okay. Here I am, a performer myself. I'm still recording my own music. I'm a label. I'm representing artists, and co-producing several movies. I probably should mention some of the projects now.
Please, go ahead.
I know my head's spinning too. A lot of artists, they come to me, and people in the industry come to me, and it's just great. We can't take everything that we do, and I'll mention one right now. I'll get into some of the others, but there's one that's a particular excitement for me right now to say. I can't get into details yet because it's kind of soon, and there's a certain amount of anonymity here.
Sure.
But let's just say that we are working on a project that's going to be like the next Live Aid worldwide, or that we are the world. And we already have, connections all around the world, and we're getting into place. And artists and different performances. It has like a little bit of a spin on it, but everybody, and there's all champions that are working together. We're all volunteering our time, bringing our resources together. Very, very, very exciting to be working on that. So stay tuned. SohoJohnny.com, by the way. We sign up for our email list, and we're all over social media. I think all the usual suspects, YouTube and Instagram. And I'm not a tech guy, so forgive me. And of course, Let Me Help Inc. as well. But besides that, we also joined forces with such a talented guy, Maurice Hamilton from the SMC group. And together what we do is that we are now nurturing some artists that they're not up there like they're A-listers yet, but they have all that stick-to-itiveness, they have the heart, and of course they have to have some talent. And, we're trying to connect them with a multinational corporation like Coca-Cola to do a commercial, will be like the next poster child of Unilever.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So that's exciting. It's not, there's the business part of it, of course, but when you do something like that, it's also, it's just that energy is just very, 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 very rewarding.
Sure. At what point do you sit back in one of your festivals or the things you put on and just be like, this finally, it all came together. You know what I mean? Like a sigh of relief, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes. We're all a symptom of our own makeup, right?
Sure.
So there's no such thing as full complacency before a show.
Sure.
Okay? Not for me anyway.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I know we did everything. I put my full on and all my team and everything. And like, we're just saying, no matter what happens, and this is part about life. It doesn't matter. You I mean, I was on, there's that platform a lot of people know about called Clubhouse, right? And I think
Sure.
Damon John, one of the sharks from Shark Tank, was on there, and he said something very smart. He says, "You always hear about my successes, but for every success, there could be like, hundreds of failures that you don't hear about that."
Sure.
So,
Sure.
it's kind of like the definition of success is that you have to fall down so many times, and finally you just get it right. So, I think we've been very, very fortunate in the shows that we've done. We've gotten rave reviews of everything, and it's just heartfelt thanks. And I guess part of that is because I like to think part of it is the sincerity
Sure.
comes across, and the maniacal way that I am and everything, and just dealing with the audience and just putting it out there, and that type of energy is contagious with the other artists too.
Mhm.
Okay, because it's kind of like, let your hair down, but that's okay. Let's just all have fun and just communicate that, with our talents and everything, and the reciprocity from the audience is so evident it's so evident when that happens.
Sure. That's great.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a lot of fun. I will make sure I put all of the links in the description of the audio and the video. So everybody check out sohojohnny.com, and also check out letmehelpinc.org. And again, I'll put those in the description. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Every day is a blessing and a gift to everyone. And just before we shut off for the day, I just want to give a shout out to both of you for having your show, because you are also champions and keeping a light on in this time when content and entertainment is so important for people out there. So I want to thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much. And everybody out there, have a great night.